After I lent my uncle a large sum of money, he accused me of being greedy when I gently reminded him about repayment. The rest of the family took his side and stopped inviting me to family events. I said nothing, but a few months later, I became the center of attention for an entirely different reason. Some background. I'm Manuel, 35M, the only one in my family who didn't F***CK up their finances. Not bragging, just facts. No fancy degree or anything, just worked my ass off since 19 and made some decent investments early on. Meanwhile, my older brother Brian, 42M, has always been the golden child, despite being a complete financial disaster. And I mean disaster. This dude couldn't budget his way out of a paper bag if his life depended on it. For years, I've been helping out. Started small, a few hundred here, covering a bill there when his kids needed something. But it snowballed. Before I knew it, I was basically subsidizing their entire lifestyle, helping with Kaysen's 19M school stuff, covering parts of their mortgage when they were just a little short this month, even pitched in for family vacations because the kids deserve memories too. God, I was such a pushover. Why did I do it? IDK? Family guilt? Maybe because our parents always made me feel like I owed something to my brother just for existing. Maybe because I don't have kids of my own, so I felt like helping my nephews was something I could offer? Whatever the reason, I've basically been my brother's safety net for over a decade. Last month was Kaysen's high school graduation party. Big deal, right? I was genuinely proud of the kid. Despite his dad being a financial train wreck, Kaysen's actually got a good head on his shoulders, got accepted to state with a partial scholarship. So I went all out, bought him a MacB **IK Pro, the good one with all the upgrades, and wrote a check for his first semester housing deposit, dropped nearly $5,000 total. Not that I was counting or expecting praise, but still. So there we all are, at this backyard party at Brian's house, the one I helped them keep multiple times. Everyone's eating and drinking, having a good time. Brian gets a bit drunk and decides to make a toast. Starts off normal enough, proud dad stuff, congratulating Kaysen. Then he turns to me, raises his glass, and goes on about how I'm the family ATM and how they can always count on Uncle Moneybags to swoop in and save the day. Everyone laughed. Everyone. My sister Naomi, my other sister Grace, my parents, even my nephew. And Brian wasn't done. He follows it up with how at least someone's benefiting from Manuel's money since he'll never have a family of his own to spend it on. Another round of laughter. What no one in that circle knew was that my last relationship ended because of fertility issues. I couldn't give her the kids she wanted. It fucking destroyed me, but I never talked about it with family because, well, we don't do that emotional style in my family. I just sat there, beer in hand, watching them all laugh at my expense, at how pathetic and lonely I must be to just hand out cash to my brother's family, how I'm just the sad uncle with nothing better to do with his money. Something inside me just snapped, but I didn't make a scene, didn't throw a tantrum. I just looked at Brian dead in the eyes and said, "No more handout." He laughed it off. Everyone did. Like I was making some kind of joke back at him. Like I couldn't possibly be serious about cutting off the money train. That was 32 days ago. When I got home that night, I made a list. Every single thing I was financially supporting for Brian and his family. The monthly automatic transfer to help with their mortgage, the cell phone family plan I was paying for, the streaming services, Kaysen's car insurance, the credit card I let them use for emergencies that somehow included takeout 3 times a week. By midnight, I had canceled every automatic payment, changed every password, removed their devices from my accounts, called my bank to reject any future attempts at transfers. I didn't say anything to anyone, just stopped, cold turkey. Took exactly 5 days before the texts started coming in. First, it was casual. "Hey bro, think there's a problem with the mortgage help transfer. Mind checking?" I didn't respond. Then 3 days later, "Dude, WTF? The Netflix isn't working, and Vera," Brian's wife, "can't log into the Hulu either. You changed the passwords or something." Ignored that too. Then the phone calls started. Lots of them. I let them all go to voicemail, Brian's voice getting progressively more panicked with each one. Something about a mortgage warning. Something about Kaysen's car insurance lapsing. Something about their credit card being declined at the grocery store. Not my problem. Week 2, Naomi reaches out. She's always been the family peacekeeper. Wants to know what's going on, why I'm punishing Brian and the kids. Asks if this is about the ATM joke because, Brian was just kidding around. I finally respond to someone. Tell her exactly what happened. How much money I've been giving them. For how long. The exact words Brian said. How everyone laughed. Long silence on her end. Then an oh. Just oh. Because what else can you say when you realize your brother has been essentially bankrolling your other brother's entire lifestyle while being mocked for it? It's been a month now. Brian's car got repossessed yesterday. Found out through Grace's FB post asking if anyone knows of a reliable cheap car because Brian needs something to get to work. No mention of what happened to his SUV that I helped him buy 3 years ago. Vera called me crying last week. Crying? About how they might lose the house. About how Kaysen might not be able to go to college. About how I'm being cruel to the kids by punishing Brian. You know what I told her? That I've already arranged to pay Kaysen's tuition directly to the school. That I'm not punishing him for his father's mistakes, but that she and Brian are on their own now. Then I hung up. Brian texted me about 50 times after that, calling me every name in the book, saying I'm tearing the family apart, saying he was joking about the ATM thing and I'm being a sensitive little b****, then begging, then threatening to tell our parents I'm abandoning the family. Go ahead, Brian. Tell them. Tell them exactly why the free money stopped flowing. I've already talked to Kaysen privately. Told him I'll support his education, but nothing else. Not his parents' lifestyle. No more enabling. Kid actually seemed to understand, which is more than I can say for his dad. Mom called yesterday to check on me because I've been so distant. Translation: Brian told her I cut him off, and she's trying to guilt me back into opening my wallet. I told her exactly what happened at the graduation party. Her response? Well, you know how Brian gets when he drinks. He didn't mean anything by it. Apparently, decades of financial support deserves less respect than a drunken joke. So, here we are. Brian and Vera are drowning in bills they can't pay. They're selling stuff on Marketplace to make ends meet. Their perfect little life is crumbling because it was built on my money all along. And you know what? I don't feel bad. Not even a little. Let them struggle. Let them feel what it's like to actually live within their means for once. The family chat has been blowing up with passive-aggressive messages about helping each other in tough times, about how family comes first. Funny how that only applies when they need my money. I've blocked most of them now. Only Kaysen and occasionally Naomi get through. The rest can figure their own **out. Am I being too harsh? Maybe. Actually, no. **CK that. I spent years being the family piggy bank only to be mocked for it. For what? For being responsible with my money? For not having kids? For being willing to help? Never again. Next family gathering should be interesting, if I'm even invited. Betting they'll suddenly find room for the family ATM when the bills come due again. This is just the beginning. I have more planned. Brian has no idea what's coming next. Update will follow when things get really interesting. And trust me, they will. Update 1. Thanks for all the support and the awards. Seriously, reading your comments made me feel like I wasn't crazy for finally standing up for myself. So, a lot has happened in the 2 weeks since my last post, and holy *T, you guys were right about the financial house of cards collapsing fast once I stopped propping it up. Quick recap, for anyone new, I've been basically bankrolling my brother Brian's family for years. Last month at my nephew's graduation, he drunkenly called me the family ATM and joked about me never having a family of my own, knowing damn well about my fertility issues. Everyone laughed. I quietly cut off all financial support immediately after. No warning, no discussion, just done. The first week was mostly texts and voicemails. Week 2 was when things started getting real. Week 3? That's when the true financial apocalypse hit Casa de Brian. Remember when I said his car got repossessed? Turns out that was just the beginning. Found out on through my sister Naomi that they missed another mortgage payment. Second one in a row. Got a foreclosure notice and everything? Vera's been telling everyone they're having temporary money problems due to some mix-up with Brian's work. Yeah, right. The mix-up is that your husband's been living on my dime for a decade, and now reality's smacking you in the face. But here's where it gets interesting. I ran into my mom at the grocery store last Tuesday. Totally unplanned. I was grabbing some stuff for dinner, turned the corner in the frozen food aisle, and there she was. Super awkward. She tried to act all normal, asking about my day like she hadn't been helping Brian guilt-trip me via text for weeks. Then she dropped the bomb that there's a family dinner at Naomi's house this weekend, and I really should come because everyone misses me. Ha! Everyone misses my wallet is more like it. I agreed to go. Not because I've forgiven any of them, but because I wanted to see the train wreck in person. Call me petty. IDGF. The night before the dinner, Vera called me. Not texted. Called. At like 11 at night. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. Y'all, she was sobbing, could barely understand her through the crying, basically said they're about to lose everything. The house, the cars, plural. Apparently they still have her SUV, but it's about to go too. Said their credit cards are all maxed out. Said Brian's been coming home every day more stressed and angry. Then she dropped a bombshell. She had no idea how much they'd been relying on my money. Brian told her I helped out occasionally, but never mentioned I was covering half their mortgage and most of their extras. She only found out the extent when everything started bouncing after I cut them off. I almost felt bad for her. But then she switched from sobbing to trying to manipulate me. Started talking about how Kaysen and their younger son Enrique, 15M, don't deserve to suffer because of adult problems. How family needs to stick together in hard times. I shut that down real quick. Told her I'm already handling Kaysen's college expenses directly with the school. As for Enrique, I reminded her that she and Brian are his parents, not me. Their financial problems aren't adult problems. They're Brian problems that he created by living like he was making 3 times his actual income. Then she tried a new angle. Asked if I could just loan them enough to catch up on the mortgage, just until they get back on their feet. I laughed. Actually, laughed. Asked her if she remembered how this all started, with Brian calling me the family ATM at a party. Asked if she laughed when he said it. Long silence. Then more crying. The family dinner at Naomi's was intense. I showed up deliberately 10 minutes late. Everyone else was already there. My parents, Brian and Vera, Naomi and her husband, even Grace, who usually skips these things. No kids, though. Just the adults. Should have been my first clue this was an ambush. As soon as I walked in, I could feel the tension. Brian wouldn't even look at me. Vera's eyes were still puffy from crying. My mom kept giving me these little hopeful smiles, like we were all about to sing Kumbaya, and everything would be fine. Dinner was painfully awkward, everyone making forced small talk about the weather. Some show they were watching, anything but the elephant in the room. I just ate my food and watched them all squirm. Finally, after dessert, Naomi cleared her throat and said we needed to clear the air as a family. That's when I realized this whole dinner was a setup, a freaking intervention. For me, like I'm the problem. Grace started in about how worried they all were about me, how I've changed and become bitter, how cutting off Brian so suddenly was cruel regardless of what he said. I just sat there sipping my drink, letting them dig themselves deeper. My dad chimed in next about how family supports family and how he raised us better than this. Rich coming from the guy who borrowed $3,000 from me last Christmas and never mentioned it again. Then Brian finally spoke up, made this big show of apologizing for the joke, but in the most non-apology way possible. Kept saying he was sorry if I was offended, and that I was taking it too personally. I stayed quiet, just watching. It was fascinating seeing them all try to manipulate me back into my role as the family piggy bank without ever acknowledging why I cut them off. When they finally ran out of steam, I put down my glass, asked one simple question. Does anyone here actually know how much money I've given Brian over the years? Silence. So I told them. All of it. The exact numbers. Over $70,000 in the past 5 years alone. The mortgage help, the car payments, the vacation, the emergency bills that somehow included the latest gaming systems for the kids every Christmas. The look on my mom's face. She had no idea. None of them did, except Brian and apparently Naomi, who Brian had confided in recently out of desperation. Brian started getting defensive, saying I was exaggerating. So I pulled out my phone and showed them the spreadsheet I've been keeping. Dates, amounts, purposes, everything. Because, yeah, I've been tracking it this whole time. That's when Brian lost it. Started yelling about how I was trying to embarrass him, how I could afford it, so why did it matter? How I was just holding it over his head now to feel superior. And then the truth came out. Brian admitted he's been struggling financially for years, that his job doesn't pay nearly enough for the lifestyle they've been living, that they've been borrowing from credit cards to pay other credit cards, that without my help, they're basically drowning in debt. Vera started crying again. My parents looked shell-shocked. Naomi just kept shaking her head. I let them all sit with that reality for a minute. Then I got up to leave, said I wasn't interested in being anyone's ATM anymore, that Brian and Vera are adults who need to figure out their own finances, that the Bank of Manuel is permanently closed. Brian followed me outside, fuming, got right in my face in Naomi's driveway, started saying how I was dead to him, how I was destroying his family out of spite, how I'd always been jealous of him. I just smiled, told him to enjoy the consequences of his own actions for once, that it must be hard finally living in reality after a decade of fantasy. He tried to take a swing at me, actually tried to hit me, missed because he was so worked up he could barely coordinate his movement. I didn't even flinch, just got in my car and drove away with him screaming in the driveway. It's been 3 days since that dinner. My phone has been blowing up. Naomi's been texting that Brian and Vera are listing their house for sale. They have to downsize immediately or face foreclosure. My parents are suddenly on my side, saying they had no idea how bad things were and that Brian needs to take responsibility. Grace is staying neutral but keeps sending me links to articles about healing family rifts. But the most interesting development? Kaysen called me yesterday, said he overheard his dad on the phone with someone talking about taking out a loan against his retirement account. Apparently, Brian's now realizing he can't afford to help Kaysen with any college expenses, even with the partial scholarship. I assured Kaysen his education is secure. I've already worked it out with the financial aid office to pay his tuition and housing directly. Kid actually thanked me for standing firm. Said he's always known his parents were terrible with money, but didn't realize how bad it was until now. So, here we are. Brian and Vera are being forced to downsize from their fancy house to something they can actually afford. Their credit is destroyed, their marriage is strained, and the whole family now knows exactly what kind of financial house of cards they've been living in. Am I still angry? F***? C cow, yes. But there's something satisfying about watching reality finally catch up with Brian, about him facing the consequences of his actions instead of being bailed out again. This isn't over yet, though. The house listing just went live yesterday, and I have a feeling things are about to get even more interesting. We'll update again when the next shoe drops, and trust me, there's definitely another shoe. Update 2. Hey Reddit, been a minute since my last update. Didn't realize how many of you were invested in my situation. RIP my inbox. But for real, your comments and messages have been keeping me sane through this whole *to storm. So, where to begin? The last month has been absolute chaos. Remember how Brian and Vera listed their house? Well, it sold. Fast. Like, suspiciously fast. And for way under market value. The kind of desperate sale that screams financial emergency to anyone paying attention. Found out through Naomi, they're moving into some apartment complex across town. 2-bedroom for a family of 4. Quite the downgrade from their 4-bedroom McMansion with the pool and fancy outdoor kitchen that I helped pay for. BTW. I'd be lying if I said I didn't drive by their house last weekend just to see the moving trucks. Parked down the street, sipping my coffee, watching Brian and some friends loading furniture while Vera supervised with this pinched look on her face like she smelled something bad. They've been selling stuff like crazy on Marketplace too. Designer furniture, Vera's handbag collection, even Brian's precious golf clubs that he used maybe twice a year, but had to have because all the guys at work have them. Reality's a B***, ain't it? The first real twist came when Grace called me on Tuesday. Apparently, Brian came to her asking for a loan to help with the apartment security deposit. Grace isn't exactly rolling in cash herself, but she's always been super responsible with money. She shut him down hard, told me she finally sees the pattern. Brian using family as his personal bank. One by one, the family members who were blowing up my phone about family loyalty a month ago are now distancing themselves from Brian's financial disaster. Funny how that worked, but here's where things took an unexpected turn. My mom texted asking if I'd meet her for coffee. Just her, no one else. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Met at this little cafe near my place on Thursday morning. She looked different, tired, older, fidgeting with her phone case the whole time. Started by apologizing for not seeing what was happening with Brian all these years. Said she and Dad had been enabling him too. Smaller scale than me, but still. Apparently they've been helping with Enrique's private school tuition, which explains why that hadn't come up when I cut Brian off. But then she dropped a bombshell. Brian has a gambling problem. Has for years. Online sports betting mostly. That's where a lot of my emergency money was actually going. Not to bills or the kids, but to cover his losses or fund new bets. I just sat there, coffee getting cold, trying to process this new information. Part of me was furious, not just at Brian anymore, but at my parents for keeping this from me while I poured money into his bottomless pit of problems. Another part felt validated. Like finally there was an explanation for why no amount of financial help ever seemed to fix anything. Mom was crying now, saying how ashamed she was for not telling me, for letting me sacrifice so much without knowing the truth. She showed me texts from Vera confirming it all, how she'd found hidden accounts, secret credit cards, the whole deal. Their financial situation is even worse than I thought. They're not just downsizing. They're practically starting from scratch. When I got home, I blocked Brian's number. For real this time. No more updates, no more drama. Just done. But then Saturday happened. I was at home, chillin' on the couch, scrolling through TikTok, and half-heartedly thinking about what to order for dinner when my doorbell rang. Wasn't expecting anyone, so I checked my doorbell camera. Brian, standing on my porch, alone, almost didn't answer. Should have trusted that instinct. But curiosity got the better of me. He looked like absolute shit. Unshaven, bloodshot eyes, wearing the same faded polo I remember from the graduation party. The moment I opened the door, I could smell alcohol on him. Not wasted, but definitely not sober either. Started off calm enough, asked if he could come in. I let him, but made him stay in the entryway. No way was I letting him get comfortable on my couch. That's when he broke down. Not gentle tears, but ugly, snotty sobbing, saying how everything was falling apart, how Vera was threatening divorce, how Kaysen barely speaks to him anymore, how Enrique's having trouble at school, how he lost his job last week for showing up late too many times. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then he switched tactics, started saying how much he's always looked up to me, how jealous he's been of my success and stability. How the ATM joke was just his insecurity talking. Classic manipulation BS. When that didn't work, he went for the direct approach. Asked if I could help him one last time with 3 months' rent for the new apartment so they don't end up homeless. Promised he'd pay me back. Promised he'd get help for his gambling. Promised, promised, promised. I just stared at him, told him flat out that his promises mean nothing to me anymore, that he's had years to get his *T together and chose not to, that his current situation is 100% his own making. That's when he snapped, started yelling about how I've always been selfish, how I have plenty of money and just want to see him suffer, how I'm destroying his family out of spite, called me every name in the book. I stayed calm. That only made him angrier. Then he went for the low blow again, said at least he has a family, unlike me, that I'll die alone with nothing but my money to keep me company. In that moment, something shifted inside me. Not more anger, just clarity. This person standing in my house wasn't my brother anymore. Just a desperate, pathetic man who'd rather blame everyone else than take responsibility for his choices. I walked to the door, opened it, and told him to get out. That's when he made his final mistake. Grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave marks. Said I needed to listen to him. I yanked away and told him if he didn't leave immediately, I'd call the police and get a restraining order. Told him I had the whole interaction on my security cameras. That shut him up real quick. As he was leaving, I told him one last thing, that I'd already transferred money directly to Vera yesterday. Enough to cover 3 months' rent for her and the kids, but not for him, that she knows about it, and it's in an account with only her name on it. The look on his face, part confusion, part betrayal, part pure rage. I almost wish I'd taken a picture. Slammed the door in his face before he could respond. Through the doorbell camera, I watched him stand there for almost 5 minutes, just staring at my door, before finally walking away. Called Vera right after to give her a heads up. She wasn't surprised. Said Brian had been spiraling for days. Confirmed what I'd suspected. She's planning to separate from him, at least temporarily. The money I sent wasn't charity. It was giving her an escape route. She's found a smaller place just for her and the kids. Already signed the lease. It's been 2 weeks since that confrontation. Brian's been staying with our parents. Found this out from Naomi, who's been keeping me in the loop. Vera and the kids moved into their new place last weekend. Kaysen's getting ready to start college in the fall. Life moves on. Grace organized a family dinner yesterday. Small thing, just siblings. Brian wasn't invited. Neither were our parents. Just me, Grace, and Naomi. First time we've all been together without the rest of the family drama in, well, forever. We talked, really talked, about growing up with Brian, always being the favorite despite his issues, about how our parents enabled his worst habits, about how none of us really knew each other as adults, because everything always revolved around Brian's latest crisis. For the first time, I felt like they saw me, not as the successful brother or the family ATM, but just as Manuel, a person with my own life and boundary. Will I ever reconcile with Brian? Honestly, I don't know. Don't really care right now. Maybe someday, if he genuinely changes, gets help for his gambling, takes responsibility for his choices, but I'm not holding my breath. As for the rest of the family, we're finding a new normal. One where I'm not expected to solve everyone's problems with my wallet. One where we actually talk about real *T instead of pretending everything's fine while Brian drains us all dry. Spoke with Kaysen yesterday too. Kid's doing well. Excited about college. Thanked me again for keeping my promise about his tuition. Said something that stuck with me, that watching me stand up to his dad showed him it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. Especially with family. So that's it, Reddit. The saga of the family ATM comes to a close. My brother lost his house, his wife, his job, and most of his family's respect. I lost a brother, at least for now, but gained something I didn't know I was missing. Actual relationships with my sisters, based on mutual respect instead of financial obligation. Worth it? Absolutely ***ing worth it.